Hey, fire prevention peeps. We're going to go over that last project, Project 2, actually the one before, because you just turned in Project 3. But I wanted to give you some feedback and make sure everybody understood what was being talked about. I don't want to make this long, so I'm going to get right to it. Other than to say, this was one of the harder things we do. I think that in class, where we can um, work on it together, it's a lot easier, but doing it at home, it's a little harder to do. That's why I added the video for how to do it. Hopefully all of you watched that. It definitely helps out. Okay, let's look at the quiz first. So we got 5 true or false questions. And the first one, to determine the occupant load of a given space or building, you need to divide the square footage of the room or building by the factors given in table 1004.1.1. So let's switch over to the table. Here it is. So function of the space, that's one of our other questions. Floor area and square foot per occupant. So we're going to take the square footage and divide it by this number over here in the right hand column. And that's going to give you the total amount of people. Okay, so number 1 is true. Number 2, every door in a building is considered an exit. Now we're going to talk about the definition of exit in a minute. So I'm just going to tell you that that is false. And the reason is that some doors just lead from one part of an office to another part of an office. Picture like a chief executive officer or something like that. They go out of their office into their administrative assistant's office, and they've gone from one room to another room, not into an exit enclosure or to outside. So it was just a door. Now they go out of that room into the main floor where there's all sorts of cubicles where this person is overseeing all these people, and they've gone out a second door. They still aren't in the exit until they go out into some kind of an exit enclosure or go out of the building to the public way. Then they are still in the building, and those doors are just doors. Okay, number 3, every egress system ends at the public way. And that is correct. The public way, we saw, is a street, alley, or other parcel of land open to the outside air leading to a street that has been deeded, dedicated, or otherwise permanently appropriated to the public for public use and which has a clear width and height of not less than 10 feet. So once they get there, they're done. They're done. Now, the exit discharge, not every system has an exit discharge, because sometimes you open a door and boom, you're at the public way. But every system does have an exit access and an exit, and ends at the public way. The public way isn't part of the exiting system, but it's where it ends or terminates. Okay. Number 4, an egress system consists of an exit access, an exit, and an exit discharge. And that is correct. Some of them don't have an exit discharge, but the egress system, those are the 3 components. Number 5, as occupants get closer to the public way, the width of the means of egress can only get bigger, but never smaller. Now, I believe I mentioned this in the PowerPoint, but like one student said, it's just logical. As more people get in the exit system, it's got to get bigger. So as I said to many of you in my comments, picture Dodger Stadium, Staples Center, maybe even if you go to a bigger church or any kind of a larger assembly that has seats with rows. So your row is only 12 inches wide from the front of the seat to the back of the chair. And that's for you to, lots of times you even have to walk sideways to get out. It's very narrow. You hit the aisle and all of a sudden the aisle is 4 feet wide. You get to the tunnel and the tunnel is even wider because more than one aisle is dumping into that tunnel. And then as you come out, you hit this big, huge pathway where all the tunnels are entering into that. So see how it gets bigger, bigger, bigger. Okay, number 6. The occupancy factors in table 1004.1.1 are based on C, the function of the room. Okay, I'm going to yellow that. Okay, the function of the room or building. So let's look at that table again. What does it say on the top? Function of space, right? So it's the function of the space. Now, why isn't it occupancy type? That's because, like in the occupancy type assembly, we've got right here 3 different occupant load factors. And a bowling alley is an assembly, and it's a different factor. A skating rink, we saw in one of our questions, is an assembly, and it's got a different factor. The stages within that assembly has a different factor. So it's what are you doing there? What are you using that space for? That's what we're going to go to. So function of space. Number 7. Now, I said this in the lecture, and the book doesn't talk a lot about it, so hopefully you caught it. A few of you got this one wrong, but Chapter 10 in both the Building and Fire Code is one of the 2 chapters that's exactly the same. Chapter 9, which is Fire Protection Systems, and Chapter 10, which is Exiting Systems, are exactly the same in both the building code and the fire code. So we could go to either one to get our answers. Number 8, which of the following can be defined as an exit? Well, if we go to the exit definition here, we see that they all fit. So exit enclosure was mentioned. Horizontal exit was mentioned. And just a door that goes directly to the exterior at ground level, right here. Exits include exterior doors at the level of discharge. So all 3 of those fit the definition of exit. So it's all of the above. Okay, occupant load is best defined as, this one tricked a few of you, the maximum amount of people allowed in a building or room. And a lot of times they'll say, well, we only have that amount of people every once in a while, or they want to play games with this. No, this is the maximum amount, period. You can always have less, but you can't have more. This comes up a lot in nightclubs and stuff like that. We're not going to let them pack these people in there because of how dangerous it is. The last one, which of the following statements is true? All exit doors must unlatch and open without the use of any special effort, knowledge, or keys. And we define that as single action effort. So every door has to be single action effort if it is a true exit. Now, your home, you are allowed to have as many deadbolts as you want. But in a business, no. It either has to be panic hardware or single action. The exception, though, is here where we do allow for some buildings to have this stamped or this sticker over the door, this door to remain unlocked when building is occupied. And the main exterior can have a key lock and a double action lock as long as this sticker or sign is over it stating has to be unlocked when building is occupied. Then panic hardware is required on exit doors of an assembly serving an occupant load of 50 or more. So that's all of the above are true. All of them are true. Okay, let's get out of that part. And it wants to know if I wanted to save changes. I don't even remember making any changes. I'm not gonna. So let me bring back up this guy. So number 4, I think I helped you with that one, but it was asking for the floor area of the restaurant, the floor area of the clothing store, The occupant factor, this one would be 15. This occupant factor would be 30. And that's because it is a mercantile at grade level. And then you were supposed to fill in the occupant load of the restaurant and the store. Classification of the restaurant, that's from the previous chapter on occupancy types. So that should be A2. Classification of the store is M. Okay, this one, the dance floor, we're going to use the number 5 here. So you would put 5 and divide 280 by 5. Tables and chairs is we're going to use the number 15 because it's dining, and we divide 1200 by 15. Then this one, they kind of did the whole thing for you. All you had to do is the math. There's 10 booths or 10 benches, and the code says that every bottom is allowed to be 2 feet of space. Now, I know some people have bigger bottoms than others, and some people have narrower ones, but they're generalizing and saying we need 2 feet per person. And that's including space for, moving your arms around because you're dining. So it's 6 feet divided by 2, which is 3, and then the 10 times 3 equals 30. So I believe that one was 166. I did remember. So let me give you these numbers. Occupant load of restaurant is 12,500, and then of course divided by 15, and that equals 834. The floor area, wait, I did that backwards. Floor area of the restaurant is 12,500 divided by 15. Then the floor area of the clothing store is 5,625 divided by 30. The occupant load of the restaurant then would be 834. The store, 188. Total of 1,021.5. We round that up because we don't cut people in half, and so we get 1,022. And then I already told you the other part. And I told you this one. So number 6, real quick. 30 times 40 is 1,200. 1,200 we're going to divide by 100 because this is a business area. So in our table, we've got business right there. Business areas, 100 gross. So we divide that 1,200 by 100 and we get 12 people. Why is that such a low number allowed in an office space? Well, because of the file cabinets, the desks, and all of the other things that we assume they're going to have in that business area. And kind of the same with retail. We're not going to give them a real high number. 30 is pretty good, but we know that there's going to be turnstiles, rounders and shelves and things. So the occupant load here is, or the square footage is 1,800 divided by 30 equals 60. So that's the occupant load for that one. Number 7, our last one here, was a little tricky, and I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know which number to divide restrooms by. It's a guess. So I'll tell you that in a second. So the total of the square footage, they did some of the math for you, is 3,758. The dining area is 1,272, so we're going to divide that by 15 because there's tables and chairs. That gives us 85. We're going to divide the 2,160 square feet of the kitchen by 200 because right here it says commercial kitchens, 200 gross. So that means all of the area, we don't cut off certain parts. That includes the refrigerator and everything, 200 gross for the kitchen. Okay? Then we come back to that restrooms question that a lot of people guessed at different things. Well, when it isn't obvious, you pick the thing that seems closest to it. Some of you chose, what was it? It was like a miscellaneous one. But what was that? A few of you chose, I think it was like 200 or something. Business